A Sleeping Beauty castle rotting in the Japanese countryside. Vines swallowing a Main Street USA replica. A rusted bobsled coaster frozen mid-track, stopped right where the last rider left it. This was Nara Dreamland, and back in 1961, it pulled in 1.6 million visitors a year. People called it the Disneyland of the East. It was built by a man who personally shook Walt Disney's hand. So how did a Disney clone that operated for 45 years end up demolished, bulldozed, and erased? Here's the thing. This park was doomed from a single decision made before it ever opened. Today I'm exposing the 3 fatal flaws that turned a Disney rival into a ghost town. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this story shows what happens when ambition outruns common sense. Let's break it down. Fatal flaw. Number 1. The handshake that became a lawsuit. Most people thought Nara Dreamland was an officially licensed Japanese Disneyland. The press releases hyped the connection. Brochures showed a castle that looked exactly like Anaheim's. The grand opening on July 1st, 1961 drew Japanese officials and journalists who all assumed Walt Disney himself had blessed the project. But here's the financial reality. The licensing deal had already collapsed weeks before construction even started. The founder, Kunizo Matsuo, toured Disneyland in California in 1958. He met Walt Disney personally. They shook on a partnership in principle. Then Disney's lawyers came to the table with the actual numbers, and Matsuo walked away. What Matsuo didn't tell the public is that he built the park anyway. He used blueprints, photos, and notes from his California visit, and he constructed a near-perfect Disneyland replica without permission. Disney's legal teams threatened action. Matsuo's response was cosmetic. The Jungle Cruise became Adventure River. Mickey-style mascots got slightly different ears. And let's be real, this decision cost him everything. Tokyo Disneyland later signed a 45-year licensing deal with Disney and paid roughly 10% of gross royalties for the privilege. Nara had no brand protection, no character licensing, no marketing partnership, no legal foundation. The consequence was invisible at first. For 2 decades, the park thrived on Japanese curiosity. But the moment Disney came to Japan officially, Nara had nothing to defend itself with. No contract, no claim, no backup. But if that founding mistake shocked you, wait until you see where they decided to put the park. Fatal flaw. Number 2, they built it in the wrong place. You've probably heard that Nara was a smart location for a theme park. After all, it's a famous tourist city, ancient temples, sacred deer parks, visitors already coming through. The brochures sold this as a perfect fit. The truth is, location math doesn't lie. Nara sits more than 5 hours from Tokyo by train. Disney's original California park was built right next to Los Angeles, the second largest population center in America. When Tokyo Disneyland opened on April 15, 1983, it was placed 30 minutes from downtown Tokyo. Nara Dreamland required a multi-day trip for most Japanese families. Here's the kicker. Tokyo Disneyland's catchment area held roughly 30 million people within a 2-hour radius. Nara's catchment held under 8 million. That's not a small gap. That's a structural disadvantage you cannot fix with better rides or cheaper tickets. The park survived for 22 years before Tokyo Disneyland opened, riding regional traffic and the novelty of being the only game in town. Then the official Disney park arrived, and the geographic problem became fatal almost overnight. The numbers tell the story. Annual attendance collapsed from 1.6 million visitors at the peak to under 400,000 by 1995. That's a 75% decline in just over a decade. Maintenance budgets got slashed. Rides started breaking down. Safety incidents climbed. Staff layoffs followed. The whole operation entered a slow-motion failure that nobody at the top wanted to admit. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, hit that like button to help other viewers understand what really happens behind the scenes of these failed projects. And if the location problem sounds bad, the next flaw is what actually drove the final nail in. Fatal flaw. Number 3, they refuse to evolve. Most people assume a theme park can run on its original rides forever if those rides are well loved. Nostalgia sells. Classic attractions become legends. That's the comforting story. But here's the dirty secret of the entertainment industry. Disney reinvests roughly 6 to 10% of its annual revenue into new attractions every single year. That's not a luxury. That's the cost of staying alive. Nara Dreamland operated for 45 years. In that entire run, After the 1980s, the park added almost no major new attractions. The Aska wooden coaster, opened in 1998, was the only significant new investment in the park's final 20 years. Everything else was running on equipment built in the 1960s. What the owners didn't tell you is that maintenance budgets were gutted after Daikyo Incorporated bought the park in 1993. They were trying to extract value, not invest in it. Meanwhile, Tokyo Disneyland opened Disney Sea in 2001, a 335 billion yen expansion that redefined what a Japanese theme park could be. Nara couldn't compete on novelty, couldn't compete on technology, couldn't compete on experience. Bottom line, the park became a museum of 1960s amusement design, and nobody pays modern ticket prices to visit a museum. The end came on August 31st, 2006. Final attendance was under 400,000. The gates locked, the ride stopped, and then something strange happened. The park sat abandoned for almost 10 years. Urban explorers started sneaking in. Drone footage went viral around 2014 and 2015, showing the rotting castle and overgrown coasters. Demolition crews finally moved in during December 2016 and finished tearing it all down by October 2017. The site is now a housing development. So what's the takeaway from a 45-year disaster? A handshake deal is not a contract, and pride before paperwork will sink any business. Location math doesn't lie, and no amount of marketing fixes a structural disadvantage. Standing still in entertainment is the same as moving backwards, and the audience will eventually walk away. Nara Dreamland wasn't killed by Disney. It was killed by its founders' 3 decisions, all made before opening day. If this breakdown changed how you see ambitious Disney killer projects, hit that like button and subscribe so you catch every collapse I cover next. The next failure I'm dissecting cost investors over $1 billion and ended in handcuffs. Stay tuned.